So let's start with a question I think a lot of people wonder about. How come some people just seem to get wealthy almost effortlessly while, others work really hard, they're smart, but they stay stuck financially?
Hmm.
We're always told, aren't we? Get good grades, land a good job, and you're set for life.
Yeah, that's a standard script.
But what if that script, that whole blueprint, is actually kind of leading us away from real financial freedom?
Well, that's exactly where Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, comes in. It's fascinating because it doesn't just offer, like, a slight alternative. It gives a viewpoint that's almost completely the opposite.
Really? Antithetical, you said.
Pretty much, yeah. And our goal here in this deep dive is to figure out why so many people call this book the seed for financial freedom. We want to uncover the 5 really big lessons that can change how you think about money.
Okay, and the story behind it is quite unique, right? This whole idea of Kiyosaki having two fathers.
Exactly. It's central to everything. So on one side, you have his actual father, his birth father, highly educated PhD, but
But struggled with money.
yeah, financially things were always tight. And then there's his best friend's
A
father,
rich dad.
the rich dad, exactly. Less formal education, didn't finish high school, I think, but became exceptionally wealthy.
Wow, what a contrast.
Yeah.
It makes you immediately think, what did that rich dad know or do differently?
Well, that's the core tension, isn't it? It was like a real-life learning lab for Robert. His poor dad, the educated one, always said,
Did a good job. Security.
security, steady paycheck. That was the mantra. But the rich dad told him something completely different.
Which was?
Create a business, own things, build assets.
Ownership versus employment.
Precisely. And it's that clash, those two totally different ways of looking at money and work. That's where Robert says he learned the real money game.
The real money game. I like that. A game most of us aren't even taught the rules to.
Exactly. But we're all playing it, whether we know it or not.
Okay, so that background, those two opposing views, it sets the stage perfectly.
Yeah.
Let's dig into those core lessons from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. What's the first big one? The foundation.
Right. The first one, and honestly, maybe the most fundamental piece, isn't just knowing definitions. It's about really getting the difference between an asset and a liability in your gut, how they affect your actual cash.
Okay.
Kiyosaki really pushes back against what we normally think is valuable versus what actually, builds wealth.
And this is where it trips people up, I think.
Yeah.
Because we're taught, buy a house, get a nice car. These are assets, surely.
Well, that's the challenge. Kiyosaki's definition is super simple, almost blunt. An asset puts money into your pocket, period.
Okay, into your pocket,
A liability takes money out of your pocket.
regardless of perceived value or ownership.
Exactly. So take that car. Nice car, you own it. But if it's just costing you money every month, gas, insurance, repairs, loan payments.
It's taking money out, so it's a liability.
Under his definition, yes. But, and this is the key, if you use that same car, say, for a side hustle, doing deliveries, making money,
Now it's putting money in.
then it becomes an asset. It's all about which way the cash is flowing.
That simple distinction has huge implications, doesn't it? It makes you look at everything differently, even a house.
Especially a primary residence, often. The mortgage interest, property taxes, upkeep, insurance. For many people, their biggest asset is actually their biggest liability in terms of cash flow month to month.
Right. It's constantly drawing money out.
Kiyosaki forces you to analyze everything through that cash flow lens, not just what society tells you is valuable.
Okay, so if you start seeing assets and liabilities this way, through cash flow, it really makes you question the whole idea of just having a job for security, which I
Yeah.
think is lesson number 2.
Exactly, the job itself. Now, Rich Dad Poor Dad isn't saying jobs are bad, not at all. They provide stability, a paycheck, that's important.
Sure, you need income.
But the book is very clear. A job on its own doesn't lead to financial freedom. It gives you stability, maybe comfort, but not real independence.
So if the job isn't the path to freedom, what is? This is where the rat race idea comes in, right?
Yes, the rat race. Kiyosaki uses this term to describe the cycle that so many people get caught in. You work hard, maybe get a raise.
So you spend more, bigger house, nicer car.
Exactly. Your income goes up, but your expenses and liabilities often go up right along with it, maybe even faster. You're working for money, constantly needing that next paycheck just to cover everything.
Like a hamster on a wheel.
Yeah,
Running faster, but not actually getting anywhere financially independent.
that's the image, yeah. And without building sources of income that don't require your direct time passive income, you can stay on that wheel forever, no matter how high your salary gets.
And we often stay stuck there because, well, we aren't taught otherwise. Which leads nicely into the third lesson, I think. The education gap.
A huge one. Kiyosaki points out something critical. Our schools teach us a lot of things, academic skills, professional skills.
Which are valuable.
Absolutely. But they generally don't teach us about money, not in a practical wealth building sense anyway. How to invest, how taxes really work for or against you, how to start and scale a business.
The nuts and bolts of financial literacy, basically.
Right. Understanding things like compound interest, debt leverage, tax strategies. These aren't typically on the curriculum.
And the consequence of not knowing this stuff.
It keeps people financially vulnerable. If you don't understand how money works, how it grows, how to manage it effectively, how to protect it from things like inflation and taxes, you're always playing defense. You're at a disadvantage.
It's like trying to play that money game you mentioned earlier without knowing any of the rules or strategies.
Precisely. You're just reacting, often making decisions based on incomplete information or worse, on emotion.
Ah, emotion. That brings us to lesson 4, doesn't it? Fear and greed.
Yes. Kiyosaki argues these two emotions are incredibly powerful drivers of financial behavior, often in destructive ways. Well, fear, specifically the fear of losing money, can be completely paralyzing. It stops people from taking any kind of calculated risk, from investing, from starting a side business. They're so afraid to lose that they never even start playing to win.
They just stay on the sidelines, playing it safe but never growing.
Exactly. And then there's the flip side, greed. People see an opportunity for quick riches, maybe get caught up in hype.
And make impulsive, risky decisions.
Right. They chase returns without doing their homework, often leading to big losses. It's driven by emotion, not logic.
So what's the antidote? Rich Dad had some wisdom on this, didn't he?
He did. Kiyosaki quotes him saying something like, "Feelings are real, but decisions should be logical."
Acknowledge the fear, acknowledge the excitement or greed, but don't let it drive the bus.
That's the idea. You need to develop the emotional discipline to make rational financial choices, even when things feel scary or overly exciting. Observe the feelings, but base the decision on analysis and strategy.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So manage emotions, understand assets, liabilities, see the limits of just a job, know the education gap. What's the final piece? Lesson 5. This must be about actually doing something.
Yes, this is the proactive part. Creating your own income streams.
Moving beyond just the paycheck.
Absolutely. Kiyosaki is adamant that relying solely on one salary is incredibly risky, especially in today's world.
Things change fast. Jobs aren't guaranteed forever.
Exactly. So the key is to learn how to create passive income that comes in whether you're actively working at that moment or not.
Okay, and how does he suggest doing that? Does this mean quitting your job?
Not necessarily, especially not at first. It's about building things alongside your job, learning about and getting involved in different areas.
Like what? What kind of things?
Well, he talks a lot about investing stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Real estate is a big one for him, generating rental income,
Okay.
but also building businesses, maybe starting small, or nowadays things like online income streams, creating content, e-commerce, affiliate marketing. Lots of possibilities.
So the idea is diversification of income, not just investments. Building multiple streams flowing in.
That's it. So your financial security isn't tied to just one source, that single job. You're building systems that make money for you.
Building systems. That sounds like a much more powerful position to be in.
It is. And when you put all these lessons together, you see that Rich Dad, Poor Dad isn't just a collection of financial tips. It's really, well, it's a mindset shift.
A whole different way of looking at money and wealth creation.
Absolutely. Moving away from just being an employee and a consumer towards thinking like an investor, like an owner.
It really does feel like a foundational guide for anyone who wants more than just a paycheck, who's aiming for genuine economic freedom beyond the 9 to 5.
It offers a different roadmap, for sure. Challenges a lot of the assumptions we grew up with about money.
It definitely does. Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. Thinking about these 5 lessons, assets versus liabilities, the limits of a job, the education gap, managing fear and greed, and creating income streams, which one really hit home for you? Which one maybe challenged something you always believed about money? And perhaps more importantly, what could one small shift in your financial mindset look like, starting as soon as today?